and welcome to the very scuffed restream for the F1 Racing League Div 2 race at Canada. It's a wonderful circuit, very high speed with just a few chicanes and one hairpin before the famous Wall of Champions moment on the final chicane of the lap. And we are currently on board with our first flying laps of qualifying. I literally just arrived, so that's why there's not been as much build-up. And I guess we shall see how it goes as we. What? That's not. There we go. As we're on board with Cruiser Janice. And tell you what. Yeah, let's get some. Let's get some of this stuff sorted. Ah, okay. There we go. So Cruiser Janice has gone fastest with a 109.1. Not a spy, just behind. It was 110.3. As we go on board with Nordy, who I think is just finishing a lap here, and we'll set a 109.9, moving to third place. Turbo Swerve is about to finish a lap with a 110.4, and we shall go on board with Kate Bag, who just came out the final corner, will set a 109.9, just a hundredth above Nordy's time, moving up into third place. Do we have anyone else who is on their first flying lap? Shadow, it looks like, who has invalidated, unfortunately. Possibly Tori is still on a lap, as everyone else has pulled into the pits by the look of things. And Tori is going for a second lap, but it will not be very quick at all. And must have been invalidated as well. Whoops. Okay. So I'm like spending this first session just trying to work out how the spectator function works, but hopefully by the time we get into the race, things will be a lot smoother, and there'll be a bit more analysis on what's to come. So in terms of strategy for this place, the main focus that you'll see from the drivers is on the pace that they can get out of their stints. While it is possible, without too much difficulty, to pull off a one-stop, even from the soft to the medium, in a lot of cases you're likely to see that drivers will favour more aggressive strategies, such as a two-stop going from soft to medium, because the medium tyre is a fantastic race tyre around this track, and the speed of the chicanes really depends on how fresh your tyres are and how much grip you can carry through them. And see Tori completing another lap. Will this one count? Yes, it will, and it moves them up into 11th place with a 111.3. Kate Bad has aborted the lap there. Everyone else is currently on outlaps. And so I think as Chris Jones just rounds the hairpin on the outlap, we shall ride on board for this qualifying lap of the circuit, Charles Villeneuve. Now, it's very important, even coming through the final corners of this track on the outlap, carry as much speed as possible, but more importantly, to not invalidate. So there we go. This will be a valid qualifying lap to start. And we turn round in a slow turn one that switches back into a tight turn 2 hairpin with a short blast up the straight to the turn 3-4 chicane where Sebastian Vettel famously got a penalty last year. Once that's done, you have a series of sweepers leading into another chicane that will spit us out on the back straight with a nice little DRS zone to blast us round as we avoid a stricken car on the side of the track. Now, a faster chicane here. Got to be very careful to keep up the speed while not spinning on the curbs or cutting them. And then this is a very tricky corner, the tight hairpin, where it's so important to get as much speed as possible out of it down the long final straight before going into that final chicane with the infamous wall of champions that you have to avoid. Let's see how Tuzagenes does here. Oh, taking a decent amount of curve and keeping it clean. How quick will this lap be? It will be a 109.0, an improvement of just over a tenth, but further solidifies its place as provisional pole position around this track. We have Opsin, who's trying to complete a lap right now, I think, who does not improve. Let's see how the rest of the field can light up the timing boards. Is Avalak? Avalak has just finished a lap. We will ride on board with not a spy who... That's not the right person. Ah, here we go. Oh, this lap is invalidated. Let's try and find someone who's actually on a lap that's worth watching. Jabba, flying down the final straight, is 5/10 down. And we shall see what happens here as they dive into the pits. Okay. Really, can we try and find someone who... There we go. We'll follow Prude Tracy, who... Oh, that appears to have stayed valid through that penultimate corner. Really taking everything you can out of that chicane that the game will let you. And a 110.1 moves Tracy up into the top 10. And of course, if you do start in the top 10 in this lead, you are forced to use the tyre with which you set your fastest lap in Q2. Sorry, in qualifying. There's only one qualifying session, but the top 10 rule still applies. In this case, it looks like it will be softs for the entirety of the top 10, but I would not expect that to provide too much trouble to the strategies around here. As Turbo Swerve, with a 109.8, moves up into 6th place, going into what will likely be the final round of qualifying laps in just a few minutes' time. There are not many people out on track, so what we shall do is we shall follow Martin, who has currently yet to set a lap. And here we go for another circuit of the circuit, Charles Villeneuve. Tidy line through turns 1 and 2. Now, see, in these trains, it's all about finding as much as you can on the apexes without cutting the track and getting the dreaded invalidation. I'd say turns 3 and 4 were a little bit... Turn 4 did not hit any curbs, so not particularly fast, but everywhere else so far has been tight. Oh, a little bit of oversteer looks like through that chicane, so that will lose a bit of time, but as of right now, the lap is still valid. Now the hairpin is a tricky corner to get right, just clipping the curb on the inside, and has a moment, nearly sent the car round, but he does keep hold of it, and so, well, I can't say it yet. There's no, I know there's no game audio. I'm not sure why there's no game audio, to be honest. I'll try and work it out. Martin crosses the line with a 110.5, does not move him up very far, but I've got clicking in this menu, which means the problem is squarely on the shoulders of Codemasters. And there we go. Now, back to having perfect game audio. Now, with 5 minutes left in the session, it looks like there are a few cars that are currently out on track. That lap's invalidated, let's not bother with that one. Obsin, who's just behind, on a valid lap. And so cars might be going for one more quick attempt before... Oh, that lap's invalidated. Well done. Obsin, one more quick attempt before diving it in for the final laps. How will the audio levels now, K-Tomatic? Is that still a bit too quiet? It looks very quiet on my mixer. I shall bring that up for you. There we go. That should be better. Okay. Let me know if you want it a bit louder. Okay, perfect. I'm glad it's perfect. I just fiddled up some sliders a little bit. Let's follow Weltering through this lap, who is up almost 3/10 going into the third sector. Takes the hairpin a little bit wide, but obviously that will let you carry more speed down this straight. And so now it's all about the Wall of Champions. We have yet to see, at least from these onboards, see anyone clatter into it and not have beast their front wing, but I'm sure it will happen. 109.697 jumps all the way into 4th place provisionally, and there should be enough time to head back into the pits, get a fresh set of soft tyres if they are available for the final flying lap of the session. We're not a spy. But I feel like Opsin is about to dive into the pits, not spies on fresh tyres, and so this lap may just count. But that was a tricky moment out of the hairpin. Did not quite get the power down as smoothly as he would have wanted, and so we will have to see if this lap will be good enough to improve his position. And unfortunate validation on that final chicane. It would have been an improvement by 1/10.5, promoting Otobai into 8th place, but unfortunately, it will not happen. Yeah, Truzo has set a good lap, and he's currently on a lap, so let's hop on board with this, because we might be seeing some fireworks. I believe set a 109.3 in his first lap, before improving it to a 109.0. So, I'm sure he would look and dip his toe into the 108s for the first time in this session. Taking as much curve as possible through that very fast chicane. What will his sector 2 split look like? Up by almost a 1/10, so he'll really have to send it through this final sector. Although, this really is a track where you can send it into that final corner if you have nothing to lose. And Trizogenes may as well try and snatch that 108 out. You see here. Oh, just clipping the apexes perfectly. And gets a 108.911, a new fastest lap of the session, which it just stretches his lead at the front here. Let's follow with Kate Bad, who is coming out of the final corner, is up 2/10. In sector 2, cannot improve, unfortunately. And so, there is still not very much that can challenge Trizogenes. Aralak has gone green by 3/10 coming into this final sector. If he can hold that, that would be P4. But it's easier said than done around this track. Let's see what he can pull out here. Oh, so close to the Wall of Champions there, but he kept it clean. Improves by 2/10 and does move up into provisional P4 around this circuit. A lot of drivers are currently on their outlaps. 13. Jesse Binman looking to improve a not so great performance so far in this qualifying session, is up almost half a second going into the final sector, so we could see a good jump here if he can keep the rest of this lap clean. As Martin has set a new lap that moves him up to 12th place. Genesee is satisfied with that, has gone into the pits, so it will be up to the drivers behind to make an improvement. Jazzy Binman crosses the line with a 1:10.1. It is an improvement, but it's only enough to launch him above Prune Tracy into P13. But there is still time for one more flying lap, as Aralak has aborted the lap he was on, so we'll wait here as the checkered flag falls in qualifying. That lap does not look particularly. It's followed with Weltering, who is barreling down the final straight, up a 10th, looking to take 4th place back from Aralak, or maybe even more, and that's a pit. That's pit entry. I think there was an invalidation on that lap. Let's see if the timing boards show any more changes to the order here. Oh, and did Martin clatter? We got yellow flag in the after the final corner, so someone may have clattered the wall of champions at the end of that session. But it looks like we may be at the end. Turbo's does not improve his position. We just have Jesse Binman, who is pulling into the pits right now, and then Not a Spy, who is the last car out on track and set a lap, but has retired from the session. And so that rounds out the order for this qualifying session, with Cruzo Genes taking pole position by more than 3/10 with a 1:08.9, and we were expecting very good things going into the race from him. Behind him we have Kate Bad alongside him on the front row, with Miller, Aralak, Nuri, Weltering, Turbo Swerve, Jabba, Tori and Opsin making up the rest of the top 10, who will all be starting on soft tyres. Rounding out the rest of the field, we have Not a Spy, Martin, Jazzy Binman, Prune Tracy, Orashado, and Raw 13, who will each have a free choice of tyre. And no, official F1 Racing League account, there is no beef. This is very scuffed. Your production value is far greater. And I will be looking forward to watching the VOD of the Div 1 race once I'm done here. Everyone else, prepare to get your multi-stream viewer out in about 45 minutes when the Division 1 race kicks off, as we reach the conclusion of this race around Certificat Villeneuve. Now, on my phone, I'll just get up the spectator shortcuts for this game so I can be less useless. Has it really? I doubt that. Okay, I was about to say. So there we go. And now that qualifying's been completed, that is our final qualifying order for the race, coming right up. I will. I can quickly tab over to the Div 2 chat so I can keep up if anything, well, if anything goes wrong, essentially. Whilst a quick stoppage, won't have to worry about the pause menu opening. Okay. So it looks like it is just the numerical buttons to flick to drivers. And aside from that, just create things, change UI. Now, it's looking like a bit of a gloomy sky in Montreal today. I am not aware if there is any chance of rain forecast for later in this session, but if there is, that will play into driver strategies. Looking to, if they are running the two-stop, potentially, to try to stretch it so they only have to make one more stop on dry tyres before switching to winters, or possibly trying to stretch out their initial stint to go straight from the slicks to the intermediate tyres. Of course, if it's a dry race, none of that matters, and everyone will be ploughing on with the strategies they have hopefully pre-prepared as the formation lap gets underway. We shall... There's no need to follow on board with this one. Yeah, let's... Oh, our lap has been disqualified. Not from the entire race, just from the session. Yeah, that'll do. Oh, hang on. I need to close the spectator menu as well. Okay, and here's our view for the race here. I'm really... Let's find out. Let's find out what our lad did to annoy the race steward so much, and it won't show us. Nope. It will be a mystery to us all. Everyone in chat, make your best guesses. What did our lad do to get disqualified here? I'm betting he tapped on in turn 1 because of just concertina effect. I'm not expecting that to be slowly. But as the AI rounds the final corners in a much safer manner than we can expect, the real life racers to be doing so in the not so distant future, we prepare for the start of this Canadian Grand Prix. As the field finishes lining up. And we have 4 lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go. Not too bad of a start in terms of lad. Tristan gets away well. And although the game doesn't seem to think that, the game seems to have him in 5th place right now. I'm not. Oh, and there's some chaos near the back of the field. It looks like Kate Bad has been spun around, possibly, and is dropping back down the order. And some Prune Tracy and Jesse Binman, I believe, have been caught up in that, along with Martin, and there is already a penalty for Prune Tracy for that incident. Don't need telemetry, and we don't need lab data. Yeah, and we have a VSC already, so that will neutralise the start a little bit. Give everyone a chance to calm down a little bit as we go on board with Kate Bad, who still seems to have a full complement of front wing. We shall see the case on everyone else. Prune Tracy, I think, is missing the right end plate, and Jazzy Binman has escaped that unscathed by a look of things. That, I think, is a missing front wing. As we get back underway, and Not a Spy has been forced to pit, presumably for a front wing change. We'll see how that affects the rest of the strategy in just a bit. And Prune Tracy has pitted and received a 5-second penalty for speed in the pit lane. He will already be serving a penalty for a collision, but there will be another 5 seconds on his record for the future. As Jazzy Binman, despite being caught up in a lot of the antics from earlier, has stayed out. Yeah, so clearly feeling that the damage, if any, is not serious enough to require an extra pit stop. As we shall jump on board with Nerdy, who seems to be attempting a pass into second place here, but has dropped back a little bit from Mill, is now following a second behind. There is, in fact, quite a battle. Yeah, it's a little bit. There seems to be a little bit of a battle brewing for 8th place here between Opsin, Tori and Raw 13, as Tori does a very good run out of the hairpin and pulls out to the outside, the inside, but cannot make the move on Opsin. As they fly through the Wall of Champions, they'll hope for another run as lap 3 begins and the DRS enables. Let's see if anyone else can make a move from that, as Rashado also has to pull into the pits, presumably for a complement of front wing. Back at the front, if we hop along to Nori, who is once again within a second of Mill and will be getting DRS on the back straight here, which could help to make a pass. You see the delta close from 9 tenths to 8 tenths and down to close to half a second as we round this high-speed chicane and head into the hairpin. It was very important that he stays in a second here because there are two back-to-back DRS zones either side of the Wall of Champions, which can be used for all sorts of fantastic moves past other drivers. As Nordi is within 6 tenths, I believe Mill did not get the best run out of that chicane, but is able to hold onto it into the final corner. Nordi will get a second chance at this pass with the DRS on the back straight, pulls it out to the outside. It's going to look to hand it around the outside, but is unable to make it past and stays in third place. It's turning into quite the battle here, as Weltering and Turbo Swerve are latching onto the back of this little train we have, and you have to wonder if they are going to be starting to get a little bit impatient with Nordi and get into a battle of their own. Meanwhile, Kate Bag is following right behind the Williams of Raw 13 with DRS, is trying to carry speed and will just latch on. Oh, as Raw 13 seems to be having a bit of lag. Oh, and that is the case, and Kate Bad will be able to make the pass via that. That's very unfortunate for Raw 13. But actually runs too deep into the chicane and will have to continue fighting with this possibly AI-controlled Raw 13 into the final straight. And there we go, there's the move done. We will hop back on board in this chain and a battle for second place as Truzogenesis. Let's check for a second where Truzogenesis is. Miles away. Perfect. So Nordi on the back straight. No, sorry. So turn 2, 3, and 4. We're looking to stay in DRS onto the back straight, as will everyone behind us. Aralak may also be within a second here and create a 5-lon chain, fighting for the final 2 podium spots. As we start to look towards the possible pit stop strategies. So currently the back 4 runners are all on the medium tyre, some by choice and some by virtue of an early pit stop, where they will probably be thinking of running 2 sets of mediums to the end following that. Everyone in the top 12 has started on a soft compound tyre and currently remains on it, as we have a yellow flagging sector 2 with Not a Spy, who appears to have spun at that high-speed chicane and has hit the wall and lost a portion of front wing, as Truzogenesis has retired from the session and a VSC has been called. And seems to have spun. Truzogenesis, from the lead of the race, has spun into the inside of turn 2 and has retired after just 5 laps. And so now this shade that was forming in a battle for second place is now looking at the prospect of a race win around Charles Villeneuve as we go green again. And there's a bit more of a gap. Mill has pulled more than a second away here and might be looking to check out here with no one in front. Martin did find a chance to dive in for an early pit stop to mediums there under the VSC, getting a bit of a cheap stop, and it will look to carry those through until lap 20 or 21, I think. Opsin has also chosen to pit, unfortunately not picked up a free pit stop under VSC, but he's likely to be aligning onto the same strategy. Now, I know Opsin in practice races was considering... Oh, sorry. My apologies. Opsin has not changed tyres and was forced to serve a drive-through penalty for speeding under that VSC. So that's not a strategic decision, that was just poor speed management under the full torch yellow. I know Opsin was considering running the one-stop around this circuit, which requires a lot of tyre management and may not be faster pace-wise, but we shall see if he chooses to opt for that, and if he does, if it turns out to be fruitful. Not a Spy did also have to pit for a new front wing, unfortunately, is way back in the field, and we're looking for quite the recovery drive back into the points here. As we go on to lap 8. Now this is, as we have just been told by the brilliant AWS, this is where the pit winner does open for the 2-stop. And Jabba has taken that signal with both hands as Alalak from 5th place has retired, seemingly crashing in the same spot as Cruiser Genes just a couple of laps before, and we have a full safety car out. That is a full safety car, and so all of these soft tyre runners will almost surely be considering stopping now for the medium tyres for the 2-stop, or possibly even the hards, and trying to continue until the end of this race. Very unfortunate for Aralat there. That turn 2 is turning out to be quite the brutal corner. And here we shall go on board with the leader and see. It looks as if the Spies. Sorry. Yeah, the safety car is waiting on the exit of turn 2. Whether that's for a roadside vigil for Aralat or whether it's to pick up the leading cars, we do not know. But the top 4 have all pitted under the VSC. Mill has gone onto the hard compound tyre, so we'll be looking to do the 1-stop. Nori has done similarly, and the 2 cars behind have gone to mediums for a likely 2-stop. Kate Bad also on the medium tyre. As Tori has actually pitted for a new set of soft compound tyres. So I think a likely strategy there would be a soft medium. All of the other runners who stopped from the softs opted for the medium tyre for perhaps the conventional 2-stop soft medium. Jazzy Binman has also opted to dive into the pits from his for the medium tyre he started on, and chooses for a set of softs, perhaps opting for the 2-stop in a slightly different order to what the soft runners will have chosen. Now, through those pit stops, Jabba and Martin, who stopped early, have now moved up to 6th and 7th respectively. As the safe car now has the rainbow livery on as well. Not the... Oh! As Opsin, it seems, has spun out and has lost a wing. Raw got a penalty for a severe collision under safety car, but I am not aware whether that was Raw's fault or whether it was just an unfortunate coming together from Opsin's spin. We'll have to see, but that is a very beaten up front wing, and yes, we do see a pit stop for Opsin there, who also received a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, possibly being unable to slow that car down with the reduced downforce. So, drama is not even stopped by the safety car around this circuit, as, the Racing Point's forced to double stack there. Now, fortunately, there may still be time to catch the safety car before it goes in, and so this may not cause any problems for the team in pink. But if the safety car is in this lap, that could be just another salt in the wound for Opsin in the Racing Point. The safety car is just coming up to the start of Sector 3 now, as Opsin, on a fresh set of soft compound tyres, will be looking to catch up quickly, and picked up a warning on the way, presumably for track limits on this push to catch up to the pack. So, if we look down through our order, as a quick recap, the order as it stands are Mill, Nordy, Turbo Swerve, Weltering, Kate Bag, Jabber, Martin, Raw 13, Rashado, Tory in the points, with Jazzy Binman, Multispy, Prune Tracy, and Opsin rounding out the rest of the cars on track. Unfortunately for Opsin, it appears that the safety car will be staying out for one more lap, and so we will have a complete pack of 14 cars ready for the restart. Unfortunately, Tuzo Dennis retired on, I believe, lap 5 after a spin on the edit of turn 2, and Aralak followed him there just a couple of laps later. Now, expecting the restart to be this lap, let's have a look at how the field is shaking up and what we can expect to see from the ensuing laps. The front two cars are on hard compound tyres and will be looking to carry through until the end of this race. Of course, being on the hard tyres, they'll be expecting a lot of pressure from the swathe of cars behind on mediums. And so they will be hoping to hold them up as much as possible on their soft tyres, but I think above all just trying to manage those tyres to make sure they can carry them through to the end of the race and they are not forced to make them stop, because the safety car will be coming in this lap until we prepare for the restart. Yeah. So the front two cars are not planning to stop again by the looks of things, with every car behind needing one more pit stop. Rashado possibly needing 2 after a very early stop, but should be okay. Jabba has collided with Martin, and Martin has picked up front wing damage from that. So that is very unfortunate for those cars in 6th and 7th, as Mill stats the field up before gunning it out of the final chicane, and the race gets back underway. It seems to have caught Noddy napping a little bit there, and has already pulled out a second gap by the finish line. I'll be hoping to just check out and let Nordy fight out with the medium runners and hold them up. Gap is now 1.4 seconds. Miraculously, it looks like the safety car restart was rather clean. An instant on turns 3 and 4 between Weltering and Turbo Swerve. So Turbo Swerve doing a bit of lawn mowing there and losing 2 positions. I'm not sure how clean that was. I unfortunately did not get the best look at it. As the pack speeds through the back straight, where DRS will be available in just 2 laps time, and heads into this fast chicane leading to the hairpin. Opsin gets past Prune Tracy on those softer tyres, possibly a slight bit of team orders as Jazzy Binman, I believe, hits the back of Tori and appears to have escaped major wind damage there, but definitely about braking there into the hairpin. Tori has passed Raw 13 there on those soft compound tyres, which can be expected to be quite good as it comes together with Shadow in turn 2. Unfortunately, it looks like both cars have escaped that without damage, and it's just a little bit of rubbing. As Jazzy Binman has spun on the exit of turn 2, which seems to be catching every driver out now, has managed to keep the car running, but without a full complement of front wing. So that'll be very unfortunate there. As we go back with Tori, who seems to be attempting a charge through the field. And those soft compound tyres, the next car up is Shadow on aging mediums. And so you'd expect this to be a fairly simple pass. As we pass a slight bit of carbon fibre on the hairpin. Up near the front, it seems like the hard compound runners are holding off the cars behind on softer tyres, as Tori swings to the outside, attempts to hand it round through the final chicane, and makes it work as Shadow gets a touch of oversteer from the Wall of Champions, but keeps it on track. So Mill has done exactly what he was hoping, I assume, which to check out from Nordi and let Nordi be the cork in the bottle, holding up all of these medium compound runners and making the one stop just that much more viable. As Opsin and Jazzy Binman are both forced to pit for new front wing. Turboswerve has passed Tatebad, as Tatebad's line seems to be compromised, and Jabba also made his way past. And that gives a little bit of a gap for Weltering as well, as he looks to make a pass on this back straight with the use of DRS, which has been re-enabled after this safety car, and Weltering moves on the inside and appears to make a clean pass. Oh, not quite. Must have picked up a warning on that chicane and was forced to cede the position back to Nordi, which just slows up that medium pack that much more and lets Mill check out at the front of this race. Very unfortunate for Weltering, who seemed to have the run into that corner and should have been able to hold that position as long as he kept it in between the lines. But cutting that corner, clearly he was forced into that line, and it meant that the position had to be given back. So he'll have to try again, and we'll likely be looking at the same move again on the next lap, being within half a second, heading into the chicane and the DRS zones. While Tori has continued to climb up the field on those tyres, which you would expect to now be starting to lose a little bit of pace. But we'll have to see how that strategy works out. Weltering, once again with DRS, cannot swing inside of Nordi there. And is forced to wait until the start-finish straight, and perhaps yet another lap. And with every single lap that passes in this duel, Weltering's medium tyres will be that little bit more worn, and the hard compound will start to gain the advantage again. So Nordi's sole aim here is to hold up the car, as Weltering goes for a dive there into that chicane, but just completely outbrakes himself. Jabba touched the wall behind, but Weltering has fallen right back. Jabba has touched the wall and lost an end plate, so that might be a force for an early pit stop. Possibly onto the hard compound tyres to finish the race, or a risky choice for mediums, as Tori is continuing to climb through the field, is now into 6th position on those 7-lap-old soft compound tyres. Seemingly an excellent choice under their safety car to get those soft tyres on with a bunched up pack and to make some places up. And the hope now is just that they will last till the end of the race. But Tori is under attack here from Not a Spy into turn 1, who takes the inside line, but it's not close enough to make the move stick. And Tori holds on to sit, but not for long, because Not a Spy is on the inside into the chicane and has the line through the corner that reclaims 6th place. It's a brilliant battle for the 6th place position here, with 5 or 6 cars there. Tori looking to use DRS, if not to pass, just to stay right on the gearbox of the Spy to make the move again into the final straight. But as is the case with the front pack, Tori's soft compound tyres will really be starting to feel the pain of these high-speed left-right chicanes, and may not have much left to fight with. We shall see. Tori is gaining on Not a Spy with the aid of DRS, but is not likely to be close enough into the final corner, and the cars will stay in lockstep. Looking further to the front of the field, we see that Weltering has finally made it past Nordi, but it has taken 9 laps, or probably 7 after the safety car restart, and that will really have affected Weltering's chances on the 2-stop strategy, with all of that medium time essentially wasted behind a hard compound runner. Meanwhile, Mill is definitely feeling the best from that exchange, have been able to pull off a 4-second lead over the cars behind. Tori now has dropped back from Not a Spy, becoming under attack from the cars behind. The 2 Williams of Martin and Raw, who are on the back of each other as well as on the back of Tori. I have a feeling that those tyres, those soft compound tyres, are really not in a great shape right now. But Tori is able to hold the Williams back for now, and in fact does choose to go into the pits. Machado follows, and we shall see what tyres they choose. Tori opts for the hard compound tyres, and Machado opts for the mediums, in fact. And so Tori is clearly looking to run those hard compound tyres to the end, with Machado taking what might perhaps be a slightly more risky strategy of trying to make the mediums last 17 laps to the end of this race. I believe it should be doable, but it's definitely not an easy feat. It's Turbo Swerve on the back of Nordi here in this battle for 3rd place on track. Turbo Swerve on the soft tyres, but on 10-lap old medium tyres, may be beginning to feel the pain of these high-speed corners, and it does not have as much left to fight Nordi with. It's more resilient hard compound. As Raw 13 pulls into the pits to switch out those 10-lap old mediums for a compound, which presumably will be looking to get to the end of the race. And it will be the medium compound. As Weltering appears to have had an incident on the back straight, and Nordi has flown back past. That was not what I was expecting to see. His front wing seems to be in fine shape, but has clearly not had a corner, and once again is finding himself stuck behind the hard compound runner. unable to let the soft compound stretch their legs, or possibly just unable to find anything left to fight within those tyres as he dives it into the pit lane, and clearly was not happy with how they were feeling and chooses to get a new set of tyres, with Jabba following. Weltering switches onto the medium tyres, as does Jabba, and Martin, I thought Martin had jumped Jabba in the pits there, but it's just that late Williams pit box throwing me off. Martin also opts for the mediums. I think at this point we have reached a point where the medium tyres can quite safely make it to the end of this race. And so it's certainly a sensible choice for any runners looking to make a stop at this point of the race. Opsin has a very difficult job to do there on 7-lap-old mediums who may be looking to stretch them until the end of this race. I was focusing on tyre management in practice earlier this week, but a 21-lap stint is tricky to pull off. For the time being, he finds himself behind Jabba, who has fresh mediums, so will need to have a much smoother run around the lap to make up for that difference. Meanwhile, Turbo Swerve, Nutspy and Prune Tracy are on very old medium tyres and we're looking to make a pit stop soon to possibly move on to... the medium tyres would be a safe choice, but we are reaching the point where it may be possible to put on a set of softs and make it to the end faster. Even though they will have a shorter lifespan with that extra pace, if these drivers can make the most of it while it's there, it may be the better choice. We shall have to see. Everyone else in the field, other than those three, and possibly Opsin, will be looking to finish the race on those tyres, as a yellow flag in Sector 2, I believe, is caused by one of the Williams, possibly Raw 13. Oh, it may have been caused by Rashado, who has lost a portion of front wing. And so unfortunately we will not be able to see whether those medium tyres would last till the end with pace, because it's unlikely he will attempt to carry them that far. Really, I think all eyes are on Opsin right now. Because, the front two have checked out on those hard tyres. Would be not looking to stop again, and seem very likely to pull off a 1-2 finish on the one-stop strategy. And the three runners behind will definitely need to stop once more, and the question is just to which tyre they opt to go. So really the question is, will Opsin be able to pull off this long stint on the mediums to avoid taking a 20-second trip through the pit lane for new tyres and possibly a raised points position? There are no cars really very close to Opsin here, as Jabba has pulled away on those fresh and medium tyres, and so the name of the game really is conservation for Opsin here. Try and keep it as smooth as possible, as gentle as possible on those tyres, and hope that when the runners fighting for that third podium spot right now are forced to make another stop, the Opsin can get ahead and stay ahead. As Raw 13 has also been forced into the pits from... Oh, and that could be trouble. Oh, as Raw 13 has pitted on 3-lap-old mediums, presumably for a front wind change, and has been forced onto mediums that are 11 laps old. And so, from a disaster of a front wind change at this late point in the race, to now be given the gargantuan task of having to extend those worn mediums for another 11 laps to try and make it to the end. He may be forced into another pit stop, which will surely end all hopes of points around this circuit. As we round the final corner with Opsin, and I can't help but notice that the top 5 have still yet to stop. And of course, Milanori aren't expecting to need another stop, but Turbo Swerve and Prune Tracy are on 16-lap-old mediums, and Not a Spy is on 19-lap-old mediums. Now, granted, a couple of those laps will have been spent under the neutralisation of a safety car, but regardless, that is an impressive stint for all 3 of those drivers, especially for Not a Spy. You'd have to expect that their main plan is to switch onto a set of soft compound tyres now until the end of the race. But you have to wonder if perhaps Turbo Swerve is surveying the option of keeping these tyres on until the end of the race, possibly getting into punchy territory, but saving that additional pit stop. Prune Tracy has opted to pit and put on a fresh set of soft compound tyres that will give him such good pace till the end of the race. As Opsin actually slots in just behind his soft tyre clad teammate. Now, of course, with them being teammates, we may expect to see some team orders allow Prune Tracy past Opsin if that had not already happened, to really make a fight with those fresh tyres. But regardless, it does not have to be decided in the strategy room. And unfortunately for Opsin, as Prune Tracy pitted from the lowest position, it seems like Opsin's strategy may not pay off, because these medium tyre runners, if they do stop again, are likely to come out ahead of him on track. As Not a Spy, on those 20-lap-old medium tyres, has finally pulled into the pits for a new front wing, as well as just a set of soft compound tyres. So we will have to see after the race if the strategy call was forced by the wing change, and whether perhaps he was considering going to the end on those tyres, but I find that almost unimaginable, with it having to run possibly 28 laps by the time we reach the checker flag, and the medium tyre wear not being that forgiving on a stint that long. So now the real question mark here is Turbo Swerve, who has still managed to stay in the DRS range of Nordi, despite having 18-lap-old medium tyres. And so, for Turbo Swerve, we may see an attempt to extend these until the end of this race, as we are reaching the point in the race where switching to softs would not be that advantageous. You would lose more time in the pit stop than you would in time saved making the tyres work for the rest of the race. And so we are likely to see a long extended stint for Turbo Swerve here. There seems to be a nice battle brewing here, with Prune Tracy on fresh soft compound tyres, looking to get past Jabba for 6th place. This should be an exciting one. Prune Tracy opts not to make a dive into that chicane, instead holding on for the DRS zone, which typically is only really useful for closing the gap into the hairpin. And it seems like that is the choice that Prune Tracy makes here. But with that tyre delta, it may have been possible to force a move into that hairpin if the circuit right. Prune Tracy does make a dive into the hairpin, but the line is not advantageous on exit, and Jabba gets the switchback. But Prune Tracy sticks to the back of that Ferrari, opens the DRS on the final straight, and flies past cleanly, well, before the braking point into the final chicane. And so that is Prune Tracy up into 6th place on track here. And Prune Tracy's next target is a full 10 seconds up the road in cake bag. But on old hard compound tyres, that... Oh, sorry, my apologies. It's only 5 seconds up the road, and with a tyre difference like that, we can expect that to be made up in just a handful of laps. As we go back to the battle for the podium positions, and Turbo Swerve on 20 lap old mediums is still latched onto the back of Nordy. Weltering is only 1.5 seconds back and is looking to bring himself into the fight for possibly a podium. And with fresh medium tyres, Turbo Swerve may not act as very much of a barrier to that goal. We shall have to see. I'm also unaware of the current penalty situation. And so, as I'm assuming a lot of these drivers also want, Weltering pits up a 3-second penalty there for multiple warnings. But Canada is a track with so many chicanes that you have to hit so precisely that it's really possible to pick up penalties anywhere. And so, despite the times we're seeing on the board here to our left, a lot of this will be decided by how clean each driver was able to race around this track. As Weltering has closed right onto the back of Turbo Swerve and dives to the inside into the hairpin and seems to make the move work, although Turbo Swerve will be looking for a more advantageous launch out of the hairpin down the back straight. Unfortunately, he knows that Weltering will have DRS, and so there is very little to fight with. As Weltering now aims his sights at Nordy on those old hard compound tyres to try and move up into 2nd place in this race. All in all, the one-stop strategy for Nordy may not have been quite what he was hoping for, but Mill would be very thankful for choosing it, because having Nordy as the cork in the bottle for so long has let him check out with a 7-second lead with less than 5 laps to go. And barring penalties, it seems that Mill will take the checkered flag in this race with a full complement of 25 points. Oh, as Weltering has a moment coming out of the chicane, hits the wall and loses the front wing. With this little time left in the race, I think it's likely that Weltering will try and limp this home, but that puts Turbo Swerve back into the podium positions with 4 and change laps to go on those 22 lap old medium tyres, as Weltering is just pulling away. Turbo Swerve is pulling away from Weltering. Does choose to stay out, but now has a mammoth task. His mediums may be fresher, but that lack of downforce at the front is likely to cost him dearly through these final laps. Further down the field, we see that Not a Spy has also made his way past Jabba on those fresher soft compound tyres, and is very close to Prune Tracy, in fact. But Weltering, unbelievably, is sticking right onto the tail of Turbo Swerve. Now, Turbo Swerve's tyres may be closing in or upwards of 60% at this point in the race, and so there may be a lot of conservation opting not to fight, especially if Turbo Swerve is aware of penalty situations being advantageous, as he doesn't seem to defend too well from Weltering there, flying around the chicane, around the hairpin, and up into 3rd place on track. With just 3 laps to go. And Weltering despite hitting the wall there on the previous lap, still appears to have a lot left to fight with, and is within half a second of Nordi with DRS, heading into turn 1, cannot make a move here, but will be looking at it. Not Spy has got his way past Prune Tracy, looks like into the final corner. A very good move there by the look of things. But we stay on board with Weltering, who is still fighting despite having aging medium tyres and half a front wing. Heading into the hairpin, a 2.5 seconds left as Jabber, it seems, has hit the wall. Straight on board, has gone into the wall of that chicane. Lutz 2 still have a full front wing, fortunately, so will not be forced into another stop, but has dropped down a place and is now under attack from Martin for that 9th place. We go back on board with Weltering as we enter the penultimate lap of this race. Weltering is very close into turn 1, dives it in the inside, but it's unable to make the move stick with that reduced downforce, and is forced to slot back in behind Nordi, as Jazzy Bingman has had an off at the same place, as Weltering has made it past Nordi here. Into turns 3 and 4, he's made the move stick, with Nordi's hard compound tyres possibly not in good shape to fight, even against a damaged car. Though he's still staying close, Nordi is only 4/10 back. Heading into the hairpin and the crucial DRS detection point, which powers both the final DRS straight of the lap before the Wall of Champions and the start-finish straight after the Wall of Champions. So making sure you're within a second going into that corner is vital. As we see, Nordi does have DRS, but it looks like Weltering has also picked up DRS off a back marker, completely nullifying Nordi's advantage through there. And so we will have to try and make it stick on the final lap of this race. One more circuit around the Circuit Charles Villeneuve, 2.8 miles from the checkered flag, as Nordi and Weltering are in a duel for second place on track, with a significant tyre difference and a significant downforce difference, with Weltering's smashed front wing. But Weltering has pulled more than a second gap here, will not be giving Nordi DRS down the back straight, and it looks like he may just hold on to this second place spot. An excellent final few laps from Weltering after an unfortunate mistake with 5 to go sees him lose a front wing end plate. He rounds the hairpin and will likely keep hold of that second place as we go to Mill, who's heading round the final corner, playing it very safe with the Wall of Champions, and will cross the line to take the checkered flag and win the Canadian Grand Prix on track. Weltering does stay ahead in second place, as Ricciardo has retired at turn 2, it looks like. Nordi finishes behind Weltering, but penalties do move him into second place. But it seems that Weltering has held on to a podium here at the Circuit Charles Villeneuve. Kate Bag finishes in second place as Opsin. Oh no! We made it all race without a major incident. But at the final pass through the Wall of Champions, Opsin seems to have made contact and has been knocked out of this race and out of a points position. Very, very unfortunate for the Racing Point driver, who had a very difficult race, was on old tyres, and it may have just been a little bit too much to handle at the end of this race. So unfortunate for Opsin there, who could have been taking home a decent haul of points, but will unfortunately be leaving empty-handed here at Montreal. And we see the podium Ferrari and Haas making up the top 2 spots on the podium. That's something you won't see in real life this year. But the Ferrari engine clearly doing wonders for our drivers in Division 2 here. And we see final classification from the game. Mill and Nordi both with 0 penalty drives, taking home the top 2 spaces, just showing the importance of driving cleanly around this circuit. Weltering does hold on to a podium position with those old tyres and a broken wing. Kate Badenoch's Spy make up 4 and 5 for Mercedes. Turbo Swerve pulls in 6th place with that mammoth stint on medium tyres to end the race. 25 laps, I believe. Then Prune Tracy, Martin, Tori, and Jabba round out the top 10. Opsin finishing +1 lap after hitting the wall of champions. Hitting the wall after the final corner to lose those points. Very, very unfortunate for Opsin there. But that does bring to a close this Canadian Grand Prix in Division 2. I hope you've all enjoyed what may have been a unorthodox stream, and I shall see you next week. Oh, not next week. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time at Monza for the next race in this division. It may not be on the stream, but I'll definitely be watching along because there are just so many fireworks in this division, and you love to see it. So from me, okay, it's goodbye.